Zach Maslany now making his way to the stage. Expect fireworks, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. I wanted to give a shout out to my boy Zach from 10th Planet Bethlehem.
He's a beast. He's a savage. Him and JM holding down the fort at 10th Planet Bethlehem. Who's doing it better than them? Very few.
Okay. From here on, nothing goes down unless I'm involved. No blackjack, no dope deals, no nothing. A nickel bag gets sold in the park. I want in.
Yo, what up? Welcome to the first ever Zach's Corner podcast. I think I said that right. Yeah, Zach's Corner podcast. So welcome, everyone. Podcast listeners. This is my first ever one, so I'm a little bit nervous. I'm also excited, though, to be able to record my own podcast. I've always wanted to do that and to get my 2 cents out into the internet, into the space, into the World Wide Web, or wherever this is being broadcast, iTunes. We're going to start with iTunes, but yeah, I'm pumped. So most of you guys, if you don't know me, my name's Zach. Last name is pronounced Maslany, Maslany. For those of you out there, to look me up, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm 34 years old. I like long walks on the beach, monster truck rallies. Psych. I do like those things, but I am 34, lifelong martial artist. Started when I was 14. Been able to get into martial arts when I was a kid has given me an opportunity to do it now as a full-time job as an adult, which is pretty dope. So I don't have a regular gig. So I kind of have an interesting outlook, I guess, on life and, the different things I've been through, had some ups, downs. I haven't had a hard life by any means comparable to what I've known some people and some of my friends have been through. So, but I do have an interesting way of thinking about things. And I think I have a different point of view. And I get to live this crazy life right now and meet a lot of people. So I just want to put it out there. And if you guys listen, I appreciate it. So some of you guys might know me from the Finishers podcast. I run that one. That's more of a jiu-jitsu MMA podcast. Me and my partner who co-owns Finishers MMA and 10th Planet Bethlehem with me in Easton, Pennsylvania, JM Holland, me, him. And then that one's produced by my boy, Ross the Boss, Ross Scherer, another guy. He's one of our purple belts now at 10th Planet Bethlehem. So we've been running our school for about 6 or 7 years now, and we get to travel a lot. And we get to do a lot of cool stuff. So I want to talk about a lot of different things, and then just different stuff that I've found over my life now that have changed for me, and things that I've been able to learn from in the past. So also, if you hear me yelling or hear a little jingling in the background, me and my fiance have a dog. Her name is Merlot. She's a little pug Shih Tzu. She's a little crazy sometimes, but everyone loves Merlot. She's a sweetheart. She's running around now. I'm not really paying crazy attention to her. She knows I'm doing something over here at the computer, so she's getting a little fired up. So you might hear her bark every now and then, but she'll mostly just chill. She's made some appearances on the Finishers podcast. I think she wants a treat, so I'm going to give her a treat real quick. Hopefully I don't say and stuff like that so much. So just those of you guys who are first starting out listening to this, bear with me. I'm going to do my best and try not to do that. So I'm really concentrating on how I talk and what I say. I've done a couple commentary jobs for Maverick MMA. Shout out to Willie Siska. And I said again. I really try to concentrate on not saying those type of words when I'm talking on a podcast or talking into a microphone, but it's tough. I lose track of things, and all of a sudden I'm saying it a bunch of times, or I'm trying to connect two things together, and then you're saying both of them, which is that's like one of the worst things. So I'm working on that big time. But I said again. All right, but I won't mention it anymore. Let's move on to the next thing. So today I wanted to go over, I wanted to give you guys a brief description of me. I think I already did that, a little bit about my background. And over the next couple podcasts, I'll be going over some stories and talking about things like that. I'll have it a little more set up so that way the show moves smoothly. And then I'm going to have a couple of guests on too. I want to have my fiance on. I want to have my cousin Matt. I want to have my buddy Big Steve. Obviously, I'm going to have JM on. I'm going to have Ross on. I'm going to have a couple of guys on just to, talk shit back and forth about what's going on with them and different things. So, one of the first things I wanted to talk about is just, I put up a post the other day on Instagram about things being temporary. And I think, when I was going through a really crappy part in my life, I had a bad breakup, and I just had a job that it was like a monotonous job where I just came in every day. And I worked for like 3 different jobs. I worked for Dick's Sporting Goods. That sucked, but I kind of took that as a joke. I worked for Lehigh County Juvenile Probation Department. I got a ton of stories from that, just working with kids, troubled youths, taking them out. I wasn't a probation officer. I would just take them out to different job sites, and we would have to do all types of work. Like we might have to go to a zoo and clean up, like not the animal shit or anything like that, but we'd have to go to like the Lehigh Valley Zoo and help move things around over there. We would go to a church. We would go to like a cemetery. We would clean stuff up. We would do snow removal for old people. We would work at food banks. So I have a ton of stories of working with some people in the hood over there in Allentown, just, crazy individuals. Most of them were cool, and I had a way of connecting with them and getting them to do work. So that was an interesting job. And then my buddy Sean, shout out to Sean Green. He's a stand-up comedian. He works on a show called Crashleets in California, and I'm actually going to his wedding. I actually got to book tickets for that. That's going down in, not that you guys care, but I think he's getting married in September. So in Santa Ana, California. So I get another trip out there, which is dope. Sean's my boy. I've known him since high school. We've went on a lot of trips together. He's one of the reasons why I was able to first start training with Eddie Bravo, because when he moved out to California, he quit Penn State, moved out to Cali to be a stand-up comedian. And I followed him out there to just come and see what he was doing and just support him and everything. And I know he was living in hostels and he was doing stand-up. Eventually met a bunch of guys, moved in with them. That's how they started what they called the Comedy Garage. And, a lot of the guys are successful comedians. Some of them are actors. Some of them work on shows. Some of them have been on commercials. One of his boys, Casey, I think was in a Super Bowl commercial, a couple of them, right? So they're getting into stuff. They're kind of like us, like a little band of dudes who got together and instead of jiu-jitsu, they're working on comedy, which was really cool. He met, Sean was in, if you know the rapper named Wax, he's real dope, kind of an underground dude from Baltimore, but he was in Cali, linked up with Sean. So got to meet Wax. That was cool. Saw a couple of his concerts. I'm pretty sure he performed at the Comedy Garage. Could be wrong about that, but I'll have to check my sources. But Sean, he moved out to Cali and to pursue stand-up, and I think he just wanted to change. And same thing with things being temporary. He was going to Penn State, and everybody was, some people would kill to go to Penn State, but he just wasn't feeling it, and he had to make a hard decision. And it was tough when he moved. I couldn't even believe he was moving, but he moved out there, and he could have always moved back. He could have moved out there, and things could have sucked, and he could have gave up, which a lot of people give up and shit. So I'm really proud of him for, continually pursuing his stuff. And he was working jobs out there too. I was working for a construction company, and he's had a lot of shitty jobs too. I definitely got to get him on here, but it was temporary. He just did what he had to do and made it out to Cali. And then that's how I got to travel out and visit him. And then eventually I went to the Legends Gym to train with Eddie Bravo and, the whole crew of the 10 Planet crew back in the day. I was always interested in learning that style of jiu-jitsu. So it's pretty cool I get to teach it now. But at the time, Sean was the one who got me out there. So it was temporary. But I thought, when I was working these jobs, Sean got me a job working at this place called GNS Fastening Systems. And shout out to all the boys at GNS, Uncle Ray, Big Ed, Junior, Uncle Pete, John, Gordy, all the guys, right? All the crew, I even knew the UPS drivers' names, and it was like one of those blue collar jobs where, they'd pay you pretty good, sometimes, but you had to work, sometimes you were boxing screws. Sometimes I was waiting on customers of shit that I had no idea. I didn't know how to sell tools. I had to figure it out. So appreciate Uncle Pete giving me a job, but I didn't want to work there. It got really monotonous, and the guys, were just old and grouchy, and, they just hated everything. And I wanted to do something different. After I had a bad breakup, I was like, man, this sucks. But what got me through working hard jobs and being out, man, there was one time where we were cutting lentils. I don't know if you guys know what those are, but when you see all these big warehouses, like Amazon warehouses and all these warehouses that they're making now, they have to cut the holes in the warehouse. Like they put the thing up and then they don't come pre-holed. They have to put the hole up for where the trucks can back in the docks. And we would cut those. A couple times we cut those off. And I remember being out in like a huge pile of mud and we're cutting the thing off and the thing fell and like the huge block of concrete came flying out. It could have killed somebody. There were a couple times where I could have died working at that job. Someone dropped a toolbox off a 5th floor at Kutztown University when we were working on the dorm rooms there, and the box fell, and one of the hammers hit a guy in the head. He was wearing a helmet, but still got a pretty solid concussion. It was a dangerous job, and it sucked. I didn't want to do construction. I did other construction jobs too. I did concrete finisher for a while. That sucked. That's where you have to like smooth the concrete out, and in August it blows if you're like in a basement and there's no coverage. It's just an open basement. So, but what always got me through that was I adopted like a little thing that I would tell myself, like, this is temporary. Like, I'd be like, man, you guys are going to be here forever. But for me, this is temporary. I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to, try to change my life for the better. Like, even though at the time my life sucked and I was broke and, I was like losing my house, like I had to move out, not losing it, but I wasn't going to be living there anymore. I had to move out because I couldn't afford it by myself. And I had to like move into my buddy's place and live in Big Steve's basement and all this other stuff. And I just be like, you know what, this is temporary right now. Like, I'm not settling for this. Like temporarily, I have to be in this crappy situation, but eventually I'm going to make it out. I'm going to, do something better with my life and change it. And man, it was hard for me to visualize at the time. And I know a lot of people thought that I was a dummy and I was ruining my life, and I wasn't paying my bills, and I moved in. I was living in the back of my business. I was living at the jiu-jitsu school. JM was living at the jiu-jitsu school. Like there were times when he got kicked out of his parents, and we were living out of trash bags, and it was crazy, and I don't know I don't know what I thought. I just knew that I had to keep going. I couldn't quit because, then I don't know. I would have just felt like shit, I guess. I mean, how else would you feel? Like, what would I do? Have to go back and get another job, another, construction job, and then I'd be the guy who just gave up or quit. I don't want to be that guy. I never wanted to be that guy. Like, my dad always wanted me to, push forward, and no matter what, no matter how bad it gets, you have to get up and you have to keep going and you have to keep doing shit. And, it's like one of those things, like Joe Rogan was just talking about it. I listen to a lot of podcasts about how people are like, oh, I never catch a break and all this stuff. And yeah, sometimes you do never catch a break. Believe me, there were so many times when I didn't catch breaks. I got, I lost my insurance lapsed. And I ended up losing my license. And the day that I got my license back, I also had to get a license plate back on my car. And when I was going there, I ended up getting pulled over outside the place where you get your tags, like your new tags for your car. And I was like, a million things happened in a row. And it always feels like it piles up on you. But then, it's temporary though. Eventually you're just going to have to work your way out of it. Now, I know that's easy for me to say because, my life really wasn't that bad. And, I could have had help if I wanted it, but I just refused to take the help from certain people. So, it is easy for me to say, but it is definitely something like if you're in some situation now, you could just tell yourself, like, just keep telling yourself it's temporary. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to, an injury from, whatever, it's temporary. I'm going to work myself through it. And it's definitely a mental thing too. Like, if you can get the mental game on point, then it's just going to help out your physical. So you just got to believe that things are going to change, and then things may change. If you don't believe if you don't believe they will ever change, they won't. You really have to believe it. You have to stick in your mind and just, get crazy about it. Just keep working towards it and keep telling yourself that things will change. So that's my little spiel for today. I have a lot of competitions coming up and, school is really busy. So I'm really thankful for that. I'm just pumped to get this out. Probably not going to do real long ones at first until I really get going. And I sound less like an idiot, but I do want to end the podcast today with a reading from this book that I got. It's called Unlocking the Cage. My friend Mark Tullius, who to make a long story short, he's a writer and he's from California. He's also trains out of 10th Planet now. He was traveling around the country and writing a book on MMA fighters and why they fight. And, he was in his situation, like he wanted to still fight and he didn't know if it was a good idea. And he had fought when he was younger, and he was, same thing, life into, his whole life he's been into martial arts and stuff. So Mark was traveling around, ended up linking up with us, asked Eddie if there were any 10th Planet gyms on the East Coast. And he ended up being in our area or enough. He made the trip to come out here. I know there was a story with it where he wasn't going to come, but he decided to come anyways. And I ended up being a decent influence in his book, which was really cool to me. And I'm really, really, really thankful for Mark, and I appreciate it. I can't thank him enough. I'll never forget, him coming through. And at the time, I might have been living at the school, or maybe I was living. We just maybe got Dan maybe just bought the house that we're living in now. So shout out to Mark. Like I said, the book is called Unlocking the Cage, Exploring the Motivation of MMA Fighters. Yeah, Mark Tullius. It's Mark. Obviously, you know how to spell that. I'm an idiot. And Tullius is Tullius. Unlocking the Cage. And it's not just about, obviously it's not about me. It's about the motivation of MMA fighters. And you gotta, there's a whole ton of guys. He interviewed so many people here. Actually, I'll read it. Over the course of 3 years, Tullius traveled 23 states and visited 100 gyms, where he interviewed 340 fighters. Tullius also trained with the fighters and soon came to realize how valuable at the time was that he was able to, that he was out with everybody. And that's the thing, like Mark, he wasn't just a dude out interviewing. Like he came to our school, he slept in a hotel, he rolled with us. We were rolling with him, and Mark's a big dude. He was trying to kick our ass and everything. It was awesome. I had a good roll with him, and it was so much fun. I ended up coming out to California a couple months later. I think it was for EBI for Grace, or maybe we just came out for Gracie Nationals. And then I ended up staying over at Mark's place, I think. And then he ended up, I was so broken. A lot of guys don't know this. I was so broke, and I can't believe we made it out there. I ended up losing the first round of Gracie Nationals. I was doing really good, and Gracie National is a big tournament, and it's not a huge tournament, but it's a decent tournament for the time in Los Angeles. And Eddie was there, and I lost, and I was pissed, and I was only a blue belt or whatever, and I competed in MMA fights and stuff like that. So I just wanted to win, and I was broke too, and Mark paid for my plane ticket home, and I was so happy for that. Like I ended up getting stuck in a snowstorm in Boston, and it was a crazy story, but I can't thank Mark enough. So I'm just gonna read the little part. He sent me there's paperbacks, and then there's the hardcover, obviously, and he just sent me the hardcover. I just got in the mail not too long ago, and it says there's a section in the back, talks about Mark. He's also the author of Twisted Reunion, 25 Perfect Days, Brightside, and the co-author is Try Not to Die at Grandma's House. I didn't even know about that one. Mark resides in Southern California with his wife and 2 children. Connect with him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9. His stuff's on Amazon. So after I read this, go on Amazon, check it out. I am in the part, I think I'm in the paperback too, but in the hardcover part, it's a really cool part here. It says, From the Fighters. It says, one of the hardest things about writing this book was not being able to include everyone I interviewed. One of my favorite parts of the project has been watching these men and women progress through life. This section is a combination of those two ideas, an opportunity for the fighters to share an update, reasons for fighting, or personal messages. I wanted to make sure that he knew. Like I said, things definitely change. And like I said, it kind of falls under the thing, like everything is temporary, So, and then I happen to be the first one listed. They got my name here, and then I'll just read the part that I wrote. And then it says, when I first met Mark, I was living in the back of my newly opened jiu-jitsu MMA school and sleeping on a futon or sometimes the mats themselves. I had begun the business a year and a half prior with my long-time training partner and friend, J.M. Holland, who at the time had been fighting as an amateur MMA fighter. We were 2 broke purple belts trying to make a living, teaching martial arts in our hometown, repping our own brand Finishers MMA, and flying the 10th Planet banner ranked under Eddie Bravo himself. When I chatted with Mark, I had no intention of fighting again and putting myself at risk. I was older and more mature, and I felt secure about what I was trying to do in jiu-jitsu community. I wanted to build a team, start a tournament, compete, and give back to the community. Fast forward another year, and I completely changed my tune. I wanted to lead my students from the front and let the guys know what it was like to prepare for a fight. I thought if I stepped back into MMA after 11 years behind the scenes, it would hype up the academy and also create a buzz. I also believe my jiu-jitsu training gave me advantage And I might be able to exploit that in, because I figured also too, like I didn't see a lot of jiu-jitsu from the local guys, so I thought maybe I'd be able to sneak a guy. This isn't in the book, but I thought maybe I'd be able to, just get in there and tap someone out. I mean, easier said than done in pro MMA fight. That was stupid of me thinking that. But I ended up fighting in CFFC and losing a 3-round decision to, a lot of you guys know him, Sergio Da Silva, a really tough dude, black belt under Vitor Shaolin. So I didn't get it. I didn't get like a local dude. I got a really tough dude. And I'm really glad, though, for the way it turned out because, and I became friends with Sergio now, and me and him talk all the time. We've competed not against each other in jiu-jitsu, but he came down to the school, I think, when he took his kids to Dorney Park. So that was really dope. So became really good friends with him. I just also wrote, I had some chances to finish submissions, but I couldn't seal the deal. I was satisfied for the moment because I've done what I said I was going to do. Follow through. That's what my dad taught me. Finish the job. Looking back at the story, I realized I can't worry too much about the future. Things can change so fast, and your life can take all types of funky directions. Martial arts and MMA have taught me to live in the moment. When you're out there at a competition or rolling out to school, you can't help but only think of the task at hand, which is usually trying not to get knocked out or submitted. I'm grateful that Mark decided to stop by at that time. I don't know if I would have been able to reflect on my past experiences as I am able to now. And, that was huge for me. Being able to put that in that book is crazy. Like, I never thought I'd be in a book before. And, I'm very grateful for Mark that he gave me that opportunity to, be an influence on him. And he has definitely been an influence on me. So I appreciate you guys. That was the first ever Zach's Corner podcast. I hope you liked it. Tune back in next. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do these. I'm just going to try to keep it as, as flowing as I can. But check out my sponsor, VapeRite. If you use the promo code Finishers, you get 10% off VapeRite. And also check out our newest thing that I dropped. It's called, me and JM dropped it alongside with our friend Quentin Fernandez. It's called Finishers MMA TV, Finishers TV. So if you go to finishersmma.tv, you could sign up. It's $6 a month. We do a couple specials. It's basically me and JM putting all of our moves up there and what we're working on right now. And what we're doing. So go on, check it out, finishersmma.tv. And thank you guys for listening. And I hope to talk with you guys soon. If you have any questions, hit me up, Instagram, at Zach Maslany. Same thing with Facebook. And like I said, hope to hear from y'all soon. Peace.
Now, for only $6 a month, you can get inside access at finishersmma.tv, just like if you were training at 10th Planet Bethlehem yourself. There will be approximately one class each week filmed and uploaded to the site, along with extra technique videos being uploaded all the time and any seminars that Bethlehem hosts. For $6 a month, you can get access, or if you're looking for bigger deals, there's 2 discount packages. You can pay $30 for 6 months, which gets you 1 month for free, or $50 for a whole year, which amounts to 3 full months free. So go to finishersmma.tv now and get access today.